David Wright. David, good to have you. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Alicia. Good to be back with you.
Why don't we start with another strong jobs number out today? Who has these jobs? You saw the chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We saw the trends. What's going on?
Well, it looks like the jobs that are being filled first, we've got healthcare and social assistance, about 81,000 jobs. This number should stand off the page. Government, 71,000 jobs. That's the least thing we want, bigger government, right? Third in line, leisure and hospitality. And fourth, construction. Seems to me all these types of jobs are jobs that can be filled by undocumented migrants, people that are pouring over the borders. I think you can kind of connect the dots here with what that Chicago mayor just was talking about as far as allowing for work permits. You know, work permits, once you have a work permit, that can also permit you to perhaps vote in the next election. So a lot of this jobs report is just hype. It's a lot of gig jobs. It's a lot of part-time jobs. The one thing that stands off the page is the labor force participation rate, 62%. The needle hasn't even moved there. So a lot of these jobs are coming in, temporary, they're leaving. People are actually working multiple jobs. So I think that the job creation number is a lot of smoke and mirrors, if you want the truth.
And more than 5 million Americans are still on the hunt for unemployment. So hence that labor force participation rate you just mentioned. But with all the jobs being filled and the strong job numbers, you just look at the number, right? Just the statistics, and it looks good. It looks strong. A lot of these are foreign-born workers. You said migrants are filling these positions. People are having second jobs. Is this a big reason why we're not in a recession now and why the economy grew, even though many economists were predicting a recession?
I think it is. I mean, with a labor force coming into play here with people pouring over the border, it allows at least those jobs that maybe some Americans don't want to touch covered by these undocumented people coming over the border. But there's other pressures that are under attack here with our economy. So when you look at that, that's one of the major reasons why, inflation is still holding at about 2.8 to 3%, and probably will continue to hold. My thoughts about rate cuts are changing in the future based on the job numbers that I'm seeing.
So what does this do to wages as well?
Well, I think wage growth is Biden's Achilles heel. What I mean by that, Alicia, is when you look at all these people entering the workforce, but in temporary types of jobs where wages are not keeping pace with the overall inflation rate. You and I both know, Alicia, that over the last 3 years, inflation has, the permanent inflation, 18% to 20%, has remained in force that whole particular time. So with that in mind, that's creating a position where, people are being paid less in these part-time jobs. Wage growth is not increasing. A lot of the professional type jobs are still not being filled yet. So that's creating a situation where it's really affecting the middle class more than anyone else.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the middle class in just a moment, but I want to talk about the oil prices, because with the higher oil prices due to the global conflicts right now, how will that affect inflation, our economy moving forward? We just saw that Biden decided not to refill the Strategic Petroleum Reserve because the prices are so high.
Yeah, I just don't know what the man's thinking. Obviously, oil and energy prices impact every single aspect of our economy, global geopolitical economy. Transportation, getting from point A to point B, factories keeping their lights on. All that we buy, all that we enjoy in services and the economy are dramatically affected by energy and oil prices. So that alone, in my opinion, could definitely kill any other rate cuts that we might have seen in the federal funds rate this year, because it impacts our economy so dramatically. And before, of course, we had energy independence. Now, of course, energy dependence.
Wow.
So it's like we're playing into the hands of everyone else.
Interesting that energy also plays a factor in the rate cuts, because many are hoping, they're keeping hope alive for the Federal Reserve's prediction of 3 rate cuts this year. But, as you mentioned, with the energy, with the strong jobs numbers, and people still spending, albeit on credit cards, might rate cuts stall now or maybe not be as significant?
I think you only need to look to a couple of Fed presidents. Neil Kashkari, Minneapolis Fed president, said earlier this week that he thought that, we still might have a rate cut or two in the offing, but he wouldn't have any problem with having no more rate cuts this year and just staying higher for longer. Michelle Bowman, a Fed governor, came out and said, the unthinkable. Gosh, we may even have a rate increase in the final quarter of the year. So all bets are off the table. The one person, though, Alicia, that is very dovish is Jerome Powell. Mm-hmm. He made statements on Wednesday that were very dovish in the fact that we're data dependent. We're going to watch this on a quarterly basis. We very well might see a couple more rate cuts. So I begin to wonder, is the Fed becoming more politicized than what we want it to be? The Federal Reserve is not supposed to be a political machine, but of course, anybody that's got eyeballs here can see that it definitely seems to be a political wing for the Democratic side.
It certainly does. The Fed specifically came out and said the rate cuts, if it does happen, has nothing to do with the election. We'll see how the timing plays out. Okay, right, exactly. We'll see. I think we're smarter than that. All right, okay, it seems like that. I want to talk about the wealth gap. It seems like that K-split, the gap between the rich and the poor is widening more now than before. It's like, what's happening with the middle class, David?
It's awful. It's awful. There's such a disconnect there. And the problem with it is, as the feds don't do rate cuts because of what's happening with oil and what's happening with the rest of the economy, the middle class is falling further and further behind. Credit card debt has reached an all-time high, $1.13 trillion, and that's growing. We know that mortgage rates, mortgage and finance rates are off the charts right now. People can't afford to buy homes, and it's just driving up prices. So what's happening with this K-split really is that the wealthy people, the people that have 401ks and IRAs, et cetera, are benefiting from this increased market. All three indices this year are up, S&P and the Dow especially. And the people that are just barely eking by, at some point, the feds are going to have to reduce rates because of the strains on regional banks and the middle American consumer. It's almost as if they're trying to maybe derail the middle class just so that they become, government bound. They have to follow all these government regulations because they simply won't be able to pay their bills.
Ugh, it certainly seems that way, David, and it's scary. David Wright, president and owner of Wright Financial Group, thanks for your insight and time today. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Alicia.
Of course.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.